Good morning, everyone. You saw a friend? I know, it's so exciting to be up here. You can watch everybody come in. One of the most important things about our tradition, one of the values that our martyrs have died for, is the idea that truth is always making itself known in new ways. And so we have the right, and I would say the obligation, to change our mind religiously. As our experiences change, as things unfold in our hearts, as the teachings of science, as we explore new ideas from other traditions, we are supposed to change and grow and believe new things. And so today, inspired by these joyful and a little bit silly goddesses on the wall, we are going to create some of our own deities. And some of it is a little bit silly, but also it speaks to this profound truth that we are always learning, always growing, always discovering. So come, let us gather together. If you're with us on Zoom, maybe round up some pens or pencils or markers or paper. Come, let us worship together.
My name is Chris Mesrosh, and I'm on the Sunday Service Sunday Service Committee, and I help lead these services. And I'd like to welcome everybody with a story. So this is a Nasrudin story, and Nasrudin he's a trickster, but he's kind of a short, balding man, so he makes a very effective trickster. So in this story, Nasrudin is an imam at a mosque, and he looks over his congregation, and he sees that it's about maybe a quarter half full. And he's kind of tired of his attendance, so he gets up and gets to his parts of his sermon, and he says, all right, who here knows what I'm about to say? And people are looking around like, how can we know? You haven't said it yet. He said, well, if none of you know what I'm going to say, there's no point in my saying it. And he left. He just left his service. Well, the next week, he comes back, and it's about maybe half full, between half and three quarters. And he comes to that point where he does his sermon. He says, who here knows what I'm about to say? Well, everybody had heard about what Nasrudin did in the first week. And so everybody raises their hand like, yeah, we know. Of course we know. And he says, well, if you know, there's no point in my saying it. And he leaves. Well, by now, the third week of this, the mosque is packed, and everybody's waiting for when the sermon is going to come because they're wondering what he's going to say. So he stands up during the sermon. He says, all right, who here knows what I'm about to say for my sermon? And half the people are like, oh, yeah, we know what happens when you don't know. And the other half's like, how can we know? So he says, now this is interesting. Half of you know what I'm going to say, the other half don't. So do me a favor. The half of you that do know, tell the half that don't know, and I don't have to do my sermon. And he leaves. So I chose that as a very creative solution to an interesting problem that comes up in people's lives. But I want to welcome everybody. If you're new, please go and check out the various places that you have to participate. I always felt like I didn't really become a member of this church until I started to volunteer for it. So I really feel like service in this church it was my first area of belonging. But I'd like to welcome everybody here. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Chris, for that story and that idea to use at some point. I know. If only I was preaching today. But the next time it really struggles to come out, I will have another idea. So as we begin, I have several announcements. Today in our service, we're going to be doing an art project with Susan Teague, who's the artist who made these amazing icons of new goddesses. And so you'll see at your table, if you're here in person, there's some paper and paper plates. So don't touch those until that part of the service. But there's also plenty of other paper if you want to doodle or draw or engage in that way with your hands. This is an all ages service, which means our nursery is open. So if you're 5 and under, that's in that corner of the building. Everybody older than that is invited to stay in the service the whole time. And if you have children that you brought with you who are not in the nursery, we expect you to look after them. So if we find them wandering in the hallways or anything like that, we will bring them back to you. Yeah, there's fidgets, there's all kinds of different activities, hopefully to keep you engaged today. Following our service today, we have our artist reception for this exhibit, and there will also be books that have these images and the stories of these goddesses for sale. So please linger for that. Last weekend was the Isaac Run, Walk, Roll, which is the congregation-based community organizing effort we are part of. And there were 2 notable awards. One was I was named the Clergy of the Year by Isaac, I know. And then People's Church, all of you were awarded the Courage Award for your good and important work. So thank you all. Okay. 3 weeks from this very moment, our religious education program for children and youth will be launching. And we still need some adults to help in various roles. So if you want to do something, even if you don't like kids, we need people to do things like bring food and gather supplies. So there are ways to support the program without engaging with children, if that's not your cup of tea. Hopefully, I mean, we also need teachers and others who do engage with children, but just saying there's a wide variety of ways to support the program. There's a table out in the foyer, or you can contact Diane Melvin, our religious educator, to learn more. Next Sunday is our animal blessing service. So you are invited to bring with you well-behaved pets, stuffed animals, or photos of animals in your life. They can come with you to church, or you can bring them with you to Zoom if that's how you're attending. And if you don't want to be in a room with a bunch of animals, it's a good Sunday for you to be on Zoom or to skip if you have allergies or just it's not your thing. So that's your warning. And just under 2 months from now is the People's Church Fine Art Sale and Holiday Bazaar, which is one of the biggest fund and fundraisers of our church year. And there will be so many ways for People's People to help make this event a success. And Chris just told you you should involve yourself in some kind of way because that's a way to get to know people. And Bob Friedel is here and will tell us a little bit about one of the areas of the bazaar that he leads, which is making pasties.
Good morning. Chris gave me an idea. I looked at the sign-up sheet for pasties out front. It's full already for the first weekend, the last weekend of the month. So I'm not going to say much, but ask the people that signed up what it's like, and they'll tell you that it was a good time. Thank you.
Good morning. We got it? Yeah. I invite you all to rise in body or spirit to sing our first song together. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit draw near. Gathered in the mystery of the hour, gathered
Could I have Reagan come up and light our chalice for us this morning? When strangers meet, endless possibilities emerge, new experiences, new ways of understanding, and new ways of taking action. When strangers meet, each pays special attention to the other. Each is called to serve something larger than self. Today, this morning, let's light the chalice for openness, for willingness to grow, for rich curiosity, and for common purpose.
And now I'd like to call the young and the young at heart forward for a story with Diane Melvin, our Director of Religious Education, who is back from sabbatical, and it's very exciting.
Does anybody want to come up and join me for our story today? I love that we have an art exhibit of goddesses, because there's a lot of people in the world that only think that God is a boy or male. And I feel like that leaves out a lot of people when we think of divinity as only being in one thing. And all of the women and all of the girls and all of the non-binary people don't have divinity that they can look at and see a reflection of themselves in. So today I want to tell you a story of an ancient goddess of old, from an ancient Celtic goddess from Ireland, and her name is Ceridwen. And this is a story called The Cauldron of Magic and Regeneration. At the beginning, Ceridwen, queen of wisdom, took the form of a huge bird, and she swallowed a piece of the sky. And then she flew to the mountain where the 9 grandmothers lived, 3 of whom were always young, and 3 of whom were always in the middle of their life, and 3 of whom were always old, to represent the maiden, the mother, and the crone. And she felt life grow within her, and she gave birth to a baby boy, and she was so happy. And when he was born, she sang him 1,000 songs into his ears, and he grew into a beautiful, happy little boy. And he lived in the mountain with his mother, the goddess Ceridwen, and the 9 grandmothers. And his mom knew that he was going to be very special someday, and so she was teaching him everything about the mountain, all the plants and their secrets, all the animals, all the healing properties of the herbs and the roots, so that he would have the wisdom. And she also was respecting this little boy and who he was and what he liked to do and his interests. And she also asked him to respect her and the 9 grandmothers. And he grew to be a kind and wise and thoughtful and respectful boy. So she decided that she was going to take the magic cauldron of the 9 grandmothers and brew the magic brew. And on the 1 year and 1 day after his 13th birthday, he would drink the first 3 drops of the magic brew and become wise and magical beyond belief. So he and the grandmothers and his mother gathered all of the special herbs and all of the special magic potions and put them into the giant cauldron, and they spent a whole year stirring the magic brew together. They took turns. It had to be stirred all the time. And at one point, he looked through the smoke of the fire and he said, "Who is that? Is that a little boy over there?" Another boy came from the valley And Morphan said, "Who are you?" He says, "I am a little boy. My name is Gwinian, and I live in the valley." And he says, "Well, who is your mother?" And the boy says, "My mother is the richest queen of the land, and my father is the kindest king you've ever met." And that seemed a little odd, for this boy was covered in bruises, and it didn't make sense to Morphan. He says, "Are you hungry?" And he said, "Yes," and he gave him food, and the boy ate it down really fast. So he invited him to his home to meet his mom and the 9 grandmothers. And the boy came and said, "Wow, these people are so nice." But he kept telling them that his parents were the kindest and richest kings and queens of all the land. Finally, they got him to admit that his parents were not nice to him at all. He used them to fetch things for them. He used the boy, and they hit him sometimes. And he was very sad. So they said, "You can come and live with us on the mountain with the 9 grandmothers and my mother and I." And the boy was like, "This is the greatest place in the whole world. I've never felt so free and so happy and so safe." And so he lived there for the whole year and a day and helped to stir the magic cauldron. But at some point, that little boy went from feeling so grateful for this safe place, and he started feeling a little jealous. How come he gets to have such nice mother and grandmothers? How come they're so kind to him? Why couldn't I have been born in a nice place like this? Why does he get to drink the magic potion and become wise and magical? Why can't I have that? And it just so happened that at the very last day, the day of Morphan's 13th birthday, his mother said, "Our magic brew, it's almost ready. One more day." And she stirred the pot the whole night. And the next morning she got up and slept while Morphan stirred. And all of a sudden he knew, it's time. It's ready. Well, Gwinian was fit with a rage of jealousy, and he jumped up and he pushed Morphan out of the way, and he ran over to the pot and he dipped his finger in, and he had the first 3 sacred drops of the magic potion. And right then Morphan screamed, and his mom, goddess of wisdom, Ceridian, woke up and said, "What are you doing?" But he was magical now, and he transformed into a rabbit, and he went to run away. But the goddess Ceridian was magic too, and she transformed into a greyhound, and she chased him. And right as he got to the edge of the river, he transformed into a fish, and he swam into the water, and she transformed into an otter, and she went right after him. And as he got to around the bend of the river, he transformed into a bird and flew into the sky. And she transformed into a hawk, and she was closing in on him. And he looked down into the valley, and he could see that there were haystacks everywhere. And he transformed into a seed of wheat and landed in a haystack. And the goddess Ceridian transformed into a hen, and she started pecking and eating all of the grains of hay in the field until she ate him. And she came back, and she could feel life growing in her again, and she came back to the mountain with the 9 grandmothers, and she gave birth eventually to another boy, Ceridian, back again. Gwinian, back again. And she said, "What shall we do? Shall we raise him here among the mountain with the 9 grandmothers? Should we send him down to the valley to be raised with kind parents this time?" Well, the legend says we don't actually know what happened, but there are those. Yes. We don't even know, but there are those who believe that he learned from his foolish choice. And he had the magical power in him, and he became a kind and wise person on the land. And what happened to Morphan? Did he have his magic powers? What we know is that he was already a very kind and wise boy before he was to even drink the magic potion. And there are those who say that he still walks among us as one of the kindest and wisest elders on the land, who shares his generosity, his generous heart, and his kind spirit. And that both of them have learned and made the world a better place with how they lived.
Good storytelling.
So there are ancient goddess stories from every land all over the world that have fantastical tales of how people are to live, that help teach us lessons of how we can be good people and live in the world. So there's stories about God as a male, and there's stories about the goddess as female. So I love today that we are celebrating goddesses, because that is a whole group of people that often don't get celebrated when it comes to looking at what is holy and divine and beautiful and sacred in life. So today we shall make some of our own gods and goddesses and divinity that maybe look like us or some things about us. So let us go back to our table. Thanks.
And that's mine.
Okay.
Are generous people. And one of the ways our generosity shows up is once a month, we take our offering and send it out of our doors to do good and important work in our community. So today is one of those special days, and our offering today supports Lincoln International Studies School, one of the elementary schools in Kalamazoo Public Schools. So I encourage you to be generous. And before you open your checkbooks and your wallets, although I see some of you doing that already, thank you, we're going to have two guests speak to us a little bit about their good works. So please come forward and okay. Let's not pass the baskets yet, because you are about to be inspired and add a 0 to whatever it is you're about putting in there, okay? Let's wait.
Okay, good morning, People's Church. Thank you for talking back to me, too. So we would like to thank you all for the invitation to speak this morning. My name is Deanna Roberts, and I'm a proud Detroit native, but have made Kalamazoo my home for the past 25 years, and I am the new principal of Lincoln International Studies School. So I am a lifelong learner, a teacher of 20 years, and now principal. And at our school, we welcome students in grades pre-K all the way through 5th. Our school-wide goals include promoting a positive climate and culture, improving our students' attendance, and decreasing behavior referrals, and overall increasing student achievement. Although I am new in this role as building administrator, I am no stranger to the importance of education, the power of community partnerships, and God's love for his people. I understand from learning from Mr. Burrell here that every year People's Church does a special collection for our school and has had a long-standing partnership with us, and I'm committed to continue and strengthen that partnership. Some of the ways that you've served before in the past is by providing mentors and tutors, age-appropriate books at varying reading levels, snacks, clothing, and a host of other things. It is written in our school's mission statement that we purpose to build strong relationships and promote collaboration between all stakeholders and community partners. This is a part of that ongoing work. We are grateful for your kindness and continued support of our students at Lincoln, so we thank you. I'm now going to ask Mr. Burrell to come up and speak a little bit more about the partnership and how he helps to meet the needs of our students on a daily basis.
Thank you, Principal Roberts.
You're welcome.
And good morning to everyone. How are you all doing today? Good morning. So I am just honored to be here again with you today. The last time I was here, I had the opportunity to speak to you a little bit about what communities and schools has the privilege of doing in the schools, and more specifically in Lincoln Elementary. I want to say thank you for you all allowing us to have this time to come up and talk to you a little bit about what we're doing and what we plan to do, some of the things that we'd like to do. I also want to give a big thank you to the Social Justice Committee for the awesome donations that they've done down through the years for Lincoln, gift cards and supporting families with children that we may not have items for them at our school, going out and getting items for them. So it's just really been an honor to work with the Social Justice Committee. Anne, and also Catherine, I see you right there. She's a great supporter of Lincoln as well. So I want to encourage you, earlier, your pastor talked a little bit about those that may or may not want to have interaction with children. So I want to encourage those of you that do. We are looking for volunteers, individuals who can do some tutoring for our kids in math and reading. We all know that in the elementary level, math and reading are very basic foundational pieces that go with those students up through graduation. And so their likelihood of graduating increases from having those individuals to come in and work one-on-one with them or in small groups to help them with tutoring. And that's one of the privileges that I have, is to help coordinate those things in the school. So we want to encourage you for doing that. And those of you that are a little apprehensive, I've heard that money doesn't have any respect of person, so we would encourage you to support in any way that you possibly can. Thank you again for this opportunity, and we just again feel it's a privilege to be here today.
Lady of the seasons, laughter in the summer's warmth be near. When the winter follows after, teach our spirits not to fear. Hold us in your steady mercy, Lady of the turning year. Sister of the evening starlight, in the falling shadows stay, here among us till the far light of tomorrow's dawning ray. Hold us in your steady mercy, Lady of the turning day. Mother of the generations, in whose love our life is worth, everlasting celebrations bring our labor safe to birth. Hold us in your steady mercy, Lady of the turning earth. Goddess of all time's progression, stand with us when we engage, hands and hearts to end oppression, writing history's fairer page. Hold us in your steady mercy, turning age.
Please join me in reading the Giving Thanks for All That Sustains Us. From the countless gifts we each have been given, gifts of life and love and sustenance, we bring these small portions to share in the works of love which none of us can accomplish alone.
People's Church is a community that supports one another in good times and in hard times. One of the ways that we do that is we take time when we are gathered to acknowledge the joys and sorrows and milestones of our lives. If you are joining us on Zoom this morning, I invite you to type your joy, sorrow, or milestone in the chat box. Include your name if it's not obvious from your Zoom name. And if you're with us in person, I invite you to come forward, place a stone in our bowl of water, share your name, and speak briefly if you so choose. You want to put a few more in? Okay. And a few more stones for all of the joys and sorrows, the milestones, the triumphs that we are carrying in our heart today, quietly, those in our wider community and in our wider world. So much, always. Okay, now we're gonna step back. Sources of reason and radiance, sources of courage and compassion, keep watch with those who work or watch or weep this day. May the suffering be soothed, may the weary find rest, may the sick be tended, may the dying and those who love them find peace, may the joyous be shielded. And may all of us know we are wrapped in a love that surrounds us always, a web that connects us to all that exists. We're going back this way, or you could sit at a table. You can make that choice.
I'm hungry.
I know. There's nothing to do about it right now.
This, I want.
Our words for meditation today are Here I Am by Elaine Kazaya. May my wisest self guide me through this day. May she remind me to look through eyes of wonder and see the abundant beauty of here and now. To live from my toes up, grounded on this precious earth and in this miraculous body. To open my heart, flinging wide its shutters so no defenses cut me off. To employ my hands to create beauty, to soothe suffering, and to unlock potentials. Eyes, feet, heart, hands. From here, I can wake to my life and the gift that it is. From here, I can move through my day with simple ease. From here, I can spread compassion and love. From here, I can mend the world. May I be in harmony today with the current that flows through all, and may I be a faithful expression of this sacred source. Here I am. So we've been singing about deities and hearing stories about them. We've been admiring the art on the wall, and now it is time for Susan Teague, the artist, to share a little bit more about this work and then help us all in our own acts of creation today. Okay, let's go down.
Is it on? Oh, yeah, it is. Okay, thank you. I tell you, it is such a pleasure being here. I haven't been here that often, but when I come, I'm always greeted with people who are wide awake in your eyes and in your spirit and your heart. It's like a dream come true. It's so wonderful being here. Thank you. And thank you for housing my work that I've done. So I am an artist. And there's two things that in the 50 years that I've been doing this full time, there's two things that I have learned. And one, that it does not take a rocket scientist to have an idea. And the other is, all you need is what Chris said earlier, is an openness and a crazy, wild, rich curiosity to explore and to do. So these pieces of artwork are an accumulation of works that actually are celebrating a woman's it's celebrating her unique everyday life, the ordinary becoming extraordinary, and it celebrates her universal divinity. So in the year 2010, I had been given some tissue paper, and I work with paint basically and drawing only. And so I didn't know what to do with this tissue paper. It's a box about so big. And I thought, I just let it, I got it in 2006 actually, and in 2010, it was still in my studio. And I took a trip to California. I was doing a workshop out there, and I wandered into a place called the Mission Inn. And it is lined with stained glass windows done by Dale Tiffany, and they're stunning. And I had this idea. I wonder if I could go home and take that tissue paper and make it look like it could be possibly a stained glass window. So all of that's tissue paper that you're seeing. There's no paint, no other medium. And the fine black lines that you see are also tissue paper, and I cut them with a paper cutter and, placed them in with a toothpick. So, the whole idea behind each of these is I discovered, I submitted them to these pieces. Originals were 8 feet by 10 feet high, and I did 7 of them, and I submitted them to Art Prize, in which the vice president of Ripley's Believe It or Not saw them at the art exhibition in Grand Rapids. And he called me, he asked me if they were for sale, and I went like, oh. I said, yeah. And so he bought 4 of them for the Florida Museum. And then I knew that I was onto something, because when I had it on exhibition at Art Prize in 2010, people were thinking that was paint. So I put this huge sign out front. It was like from here to here. It said, "This is tissue paper only!" Exclamation point. Really! Exclamation point. No paint! Exclamation point. And so people were just taking photographs and photographs of it. And it was a popular exhibition. And that's why Ripley's Believe It or Not stopped, because he couldn't believe that it was tissue paper, and he thought it was also funny. So that's how they got there. When I got home after the show was over with, I thought, and I'm sure when you get ideas, there's something percolating on the inside that goes deeper. Maybe there's another step to take, and I felt that was true of these pieces. And I got quiet and I listened inside, and what I heard is there's a story behind each of these that I've created. I originally created 7, and then I wound up making 16 of them all together. A smaller size, because, man, 8 feet by 4 feet is hard to haul around for exhibitions. And when I got quiet, these stories started coming out, one after another after another. And this is a story about from women's life back in the 1950s to where we are today as a women body of the roles, the identities, the expectations that have changed. So I'm going to read you one story about here regarding that. And to kind of give you an idea, I will be here after the service is over with to talk in more detail about the work. The books that I'm holding now, those became a book, they're out on the table outside for sale. They're only $17, but if you should happen to have only a 20 on you, they'll take that back there, and the $3 goes back here to People's Church. And it can go to the Lincoln International School razor. Okay, here we go. And the one I want to read is called Fanny, and she is sitting somewhere on that wall. She's around, thank you, I can't see her from here. Fanny. So anyway, those of you who have been of age know what hot flashes are like. So she's the goddess of hot flashes, and she's surrounded by fans. Okay, so with these goddesses, each of them have a story. So this is hers. She was born in Hot Springs, Colorado. And these are real places. I had to look them up online. And her motto is Red Hot Mama Smoke. Okay, so here's the story. Welcome to the world of menopause, where Mother Nature assures women that the change of life will lead them to new, meaningful discoveries about their lives. Yes, it's true. I've discovered that drenching night sweats provide enough water to wash my clothes. And scorching hot flashes are enough to dry them. I've discovered that melting facial makeup and wringing wet hair do not make good for a job interview. My menopausal goddess friends have discovered that being smoking hot is code for turn the air conditioner on. And cool as a cucumber means the best summer vacation spot is inside the refrigerator. They have also learned that quote-unquote red hot mama means that their thermostat is stuck on global warming, and their accompanying mood swings will part traffic like the Red Sea. Now, I appreciate Mother Nature's thoughtfulness, but I think she missed the steamboat on this one, having had too many jobs in the too many irons in the fire while designing us, her cherished goddesses. I know she's an ultra-busy creative force in the world, but coordinating floods, typhoons, fires, and all, but hello, there's a hell's inferno is on the loose. From one goddess to another. The fiery plan of action Mother Nature designed for us seems like a bum deal on first sight. But think about this for a moment. We were designed to be trailblazers, to burn with passionate devotion and conviction, to ignite with joy and laughter, and to set the world on fire with our creative explorations and our potent ingenuity. We were cut from the same cloth as Florence Nightingale, Shirley Chisholm, Oprah Winfrey, Helen Keller, Jane Goodall, Gloria Steinem, Rosa Parks, Amelia Earhart, and that list goes on. So perhaps the hottest flash headline news is, we, the goddesses, were born to live in fire. We are the solar flares illuminating the sky of insight and inspiration. We are the striking matches, confidently meeting the challenges of today's world. Yep, that's true. Okay, so anyway, each of the stories have some true history with them and true stories about my own life. But in the end, and there's, most of them are actually pretty funny. But in the end, there's a truth that's revealed in that. So I'm reading one for you. Do you have the slide for that one, Artie? The goddess of creative. This is leading us into our art activity. Do you have that handy? Don't have that? Okay. Here we go. I will show a quick picture of this. This is Artie, and I know it's pretty small for you to see. And I've opened the book with this one, and she is the goddess of the fine arts, or the goddess of creativity. And she's surrounded by piano keys and paintbrushes, an easel, dancing shoes, ballet shoes, and so on. So she's the representative of the creative fine arts. Here we go. That piece is not in the show. I had an exhibition in St. Joe, Michigan, not too long ago at their museum. No, the Box Factory, excuse me. And on the very last day, somebody bought that piece, and I was told to call him up. So I did. He goes, "Do you know who I am?" And I said, "No." He said, "Well, look me up online." So I did. This gentleman, his name was Arthur Miller, and he is, there we go, that's the piece. And he owns, he made a building, built it 3,000 square feet to house all of his contemporary artwork, from Picasso to de Kooning, and maybe a lot of other names you wouldn't recognize. But as an artist, they're internationally recognized people. And he's got 3,000 square feet. He has like over 30 Picasso pieces. And I thought, okay. So he bought that. And it was such an honor that he recognized something that was important to it. So I went and I met him, delivered it to him, and he goes, "I bought this for my daughter. She's an artist." I thought, it's hanging in his home. Okay, so this, she was born in Paintsville, Kentucky. You are, and her motto is, "You are the creative masterpiece." So here's the story. In my 40-plus years as an art teacher, artist, and community program presenter in the fine arts, I frequently hear others say, "I don't have a creative bone in my body." Perhaps this disparaging belief is coming from the idea that only the super talented can enter through the door of the fine arts. This is so far, far from the truth. The goddess of the fine arts greets all of us every day. We find her in the straight and narrow corridors of our routines, around the corners that we turn, along the paths of our daily choices. She's a down-home, grassroots kind of gal who lives in rich and poor neighborhoods, rural villages, megacities, senior retirement communities, and along the country roads of homesteading families. We see her shine in the eyes of every child who pretends to be a grown-up wearing mom or dad's shoes, or pretends to be a fireman, astronaut, princess, or pirate. Her joyful voice is in the echo of children who discover for the first time that blowing their breath through puckered lips produces a whistle. This goddess searches out the littlest of the little and inspires them to jump and wiggle and twist and twirl when music is played. Her rhythm is felt in the hand of the child who holds a stick and clacks it across a picket fence just for the sake of hearing the sound. She is the glee of children who witness that their colorful crayon squiggles across scrap paper look like rainbows in the sky. Yes, this grassroots goddess's ageless heart whispers to every child, young or old, yes, you can. Create, discover, explore, imagine, think new, dream new, play, dream, and smile and laugh while you do it. So, the next time you have an urge to doodle, hum or tap your foot to music, or write, "I love you," or imagine a life greater than you know now, remember, you can. Thank you. So, the art project, our deities. So you have at your table round pieces of paper. They're paper plates. I would like each of you to take one, if you're going to do the project, that is. And I'm telling you, folks, as an artist myself and working with other adults and children, sometimes that criticism on the inside is, well, I can't do it. It's going to, and we stop ourselves before we begin to start. So we're going to play. Play, 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 play. Okay? So I'm going to draw a circle up here. Oops, that's not dark enough. Let's try this one. This is going to represent your paper plate. Can you see that well enough? Let's try that. Okay, you are going to build the face of your deity on this plate. So you have some art tools at your table, markers, etc. And that's a really lopsided circle from where I'm standing over here. It looks nice and round. Okay, so my inner critic says you have to change this. It's a little bit better. Okay, so what you're going to do is think about what you're going to name your deity, like I've named mine. What does that represent for you? Okay, so think of a name. And at the end, when we're done with this, Rachel has given us so kindly some time that a couple of you can introduce your deity. Okay, now obviously we're going to have some eyes, and you can have 2 eyes, you can have 3 eyes, you can have 6 eyes, you can have 1 eye, and it can be any shape you want to. And I don't care what planet this deity comes from. It can be off the planet Zoran if you want. So eyes can come in lots of different shapes and sizes. You can do it like regular this, you can do almond, you can do this as an eye. So what I want you to do is pick up some tool and put the eyes in. And if you want eyes down there, put them down there. There's no right or wrong. So put some eyes in there. And any color. So then you're going to decide, are these eyes open? Are they closed? What direction are they looking in? And I'm going to put eyeballs right over here. Kind of like a turtle shell. And I'm putting eyes that are going to look over in this direction. Okay. When you complete that, you can color that in. The eyes, the white of the eyes do not have to be white like your paper plate. You can make them purple. You can make one pink and one yellow. It's up to you. And I'd like a little indication of a hand raised, kind of let me know when you're completed that part. When we get at least half of you done, we'll move on. Okay. Soup. Oh, thanks, sweetie. Thanks for letting me know. Thank you. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good. Woohoo. Okay, now we're going to do a couple of other things. We're going to add a nose. Noses can come in all different sizes and shapes. So I could do a Pinocchio nose. I can do a little nose that goes all the way over here. Little nostrils there. It's up to you. So you're going to make some kind of a nose. And if you have 6 eyes, you get to decide maybe it's got 2 noses. And maybe it's not a kind of a nose that we would find on a human being. Maybe it's an alligator nose. Again, as you're doing this, think about the title of your goddess, or your deity, excuse me. And raise a hand when you get that part done. Good. So good, most of you. Good. Okay, now comes an opening we would call a mouth. And this mouth could be open with maybe like teeth showing, maybe the tongue is sticking out, maybe it's smiling, maybe it's not smiling. And I'm going to put mine offset over here, kind of like this, kind of like with one tooth. That's what I'm doing. Now, if you're so inclined, after do the eyes, the nose, and the mouth, if you're so inclined to add eyelashes or eyebrows, you can do that too, which I'm going to make mine a little unibrow. On your paper plate, it has a rim on the outside, so if you want to design ears, you can do that. Maybe elf ears, any kind of an ear, rabbit ears, and any strands of hair that you may want to put on here. There we go. Make red hair over here. As you're doing this, one of my experiences has happened over and over and over again, is that when I'm teaching like at college, and I've got adult students particularly, they're afraid to tack the paper because the paper's expensive, the pencils are expensive, they're afraid of making a mistake. So we downsize here with paper plates. No big risk here. And when you feel like you've completed it, would you just give me a show of hands? Okay. 2, 2, 2, 3. Thank you, Chris. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, dear. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Good, good. How about maybe a fourth of you are completed? Rachel, I would like some guidance. We're at 5-2. Would you like us to wrap this up with the people that are done and to introduce? How would you like to do this?
So, in the interest of time, I'm going to encourage you to keep drawing if you would like to, but we're going to sort of wrap up the service. And you are welcome to take your deity with you. But I also encourage you, we have some painter's tape over there, and you can hang them on the wall over there. And if you want to write their name with the strips of paper so we can all know who they are, that would be a gift to us all. So feel free to, the tables will be here, until someday this week when we move them. So feel free to keep drawing. And we're going to do things like have our closing song and wrap up. And when you're ready, if you would like to hang your deity on the wall, perhaps with a name, that would be lovely.
Whoa. If you are in a place where you can or you are so inclined, I invite you to rise in body or spirit to sing our closing song together. Joy, thou goddess fair, immortal, offspring of Elysium, mad with rapture to the portal of thy holy fane we come. Passion's loss indeed may sever, but thy magic joins again. Humankind is one forever, 'neath thy mild and gentle reign. Joy in nature's wide dominion, mightiest cause of all is found, and 'tis joy that moves the pinion when the wheel of time goes round. From the bud she lures the flower, suns from out their orbs of light. Distant spheres obey her power, far beyond all mortal sight. There's German in it too.
Understood what that meant in English, I have to say, but it was joy and goddess and ode to joy, and it worked. So as we go out or as we continue creating, I want us to know that we are always creating. We are always discerning and discovering what is most true and seeking the best way to live in right relation with one another and the world around us. If you made a deity and you're with us on Zoom or watching later on YouTube and created something and would like to add it to our gallery, please send it our way and we will hang it up or send us an image. And let us all go enjoy with new deities to help us guide our way. Go in peace, go in love.